The sexual abuse to prison pipeline is a term that we really coined to describe the pathways of gender-based violence that funnel predominantly girls of color into the juvenile justice system. What we found was that, obviously gender-based violence in the United States is incredibly pervasive, but what was really startling for us was the realization that for our most marginalized girls, the experience of sexual violence was actually propelling them into the justice system. We surveyed data both nationally and regionally and found that an overwhelming majority of girls in the juvenile justice system reported past histories of sexual and physical violence. In places like South Carolina, it was over 80%, and in places like Oregon, it was 93%. The most common offenses for girls today are running away, truancy, prostitution. So when we looked at those offenses, it becomes really clear, right? We talked about what are they running away from? Typically violence at home or abusive foster care placement. Truancy, why are they repeatedly late to school? Why are they skipping school, right? Oftentimes trafficked girls tell us their trafficker is moving them around. They're not allowed to attend school, or there's something happening to them at school.
In my high school, they was like, okay, we're gonna pass you because you're gonna eventually age out the system. How can you keep track of kids that's not in school, which is a high flag risk for human trafficking, but you passing them and you moving them along and you just letting them get away and not reporting them, and you're not educating them. You're not teaching them maybe, this guy or this person is not right for me, because you're not doing nothing but passing along through the system.
Obviously, the most glaring example of the abuse to prison pipeline is the arrest and incarceration of trafficked girls for prostitution offenses and related offenses. And not only is it a contradiction, because these kids, most of them aren't even old enough to consent to sex, and the federal law defines them as victims of human trafficking, but they're still being, arrested and adjudicated for prostitution. I think there's this sense that arrest and detention is the safest option, right? It's a way of making sure that this girl is safe for one night and not back out on the street. And to that we say, go visit your local detention center. We know from many young girls who weren't victims of trafficking that the first time they experienced sexual violence was behind bars. We actually launched a campaign to address this very issue called the No Such Thing campaign, to make clear there's no such thing as a child prostitute. And so we've been really pushing to decriminalize kids who have come into contact with the system for prostitution offenses, for offenses that are directly related to them being trafficked, in favor of having them put into community-based programs and treatment and services.